What's up guys, and today on Plug and Play we're going to be checking out Cinestrings Solo from Cinesamples. Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Craig Peters, and today on Plug and Play we're going to be checking out Cinestrings Solo from Cinesamples. So the guys at Cinesamples were nice enough to shoot me a copy of Cinestrings Solo to check out and review, because since I've been doing Plug and Play, some of the things that I've been asked about as far as VST instruments go is what sort of libraries are good for, string quartets or like solo strings. Now, being a fan of orchestral music myself, I love the sound of a small string quartet, so I wanted to do a little bit of research and try and find a cool one for you guys, if any of you that are looking for a string quartet. So I stumbled across Cinesamples, and I've heard about them for a while, but I've never really heard any of their solo stuff. Now, all of Cinesamples' samples are recorded at the MGM scoring stage in Los Angeles. So if you buy any of their libraries, they're all going to sound relatively the same because they're all recorded in the same room. Now, I wrote a little demo using Cinestrings Solo, and I wanted to do something a little bit different, not in the sense of a typical, let's say, orchestral, very classical style. I wanted to do something sort of utilizing a few of their other articulations like Bartok pits, which I think are really cool. So I wanted to do something sort of in the vein of maybe like a There Will Be Blood, Johnny Greenwood sort of thing. So let's go ahead and check out the demo, and then we'll get into the features of Cinestrings Solo. Alright, now getting into the GUI of Cinestrings Solo, there's three different windows. There's mapping, there's the mixer, and then there's settings. Now getting into the mapping page, you have different options for selecting different presets. So if you want it to be velocity based, or if you want it to be key switch based, you have that option. You can also change the different accent overlays if you want it to be a marcato or spiccato, different things like that. Now, one of the things that I liked about Cinestrings Solo, and this probably goes for some of their other libraries, is that you have the infinite sustain option. And what's cool about this is that if, let's say, you don't want the bow to change in a certain area, you can actually key switch, or I think you can actually leave it in to where it always does this too, but you can key switch. So if you hold that key switch and then press the note, it will ring without hearing a bow change. So sometimes you might hear a bow change in a part where you don't want it to change. Let's say you're about to change a note and then it does a quick bow change and it sounds a little bit odd. You can go ahead and key switch that in to where it doesn't bow change, it just stays the same, which I think is really cool. Now when you start checking out the different mixer presets, one of the things that you'll notice is that each one has to load on its own. So that could slow you down a little bit, but it's definitely worth checking out if you want to get a little bit more of an idea of how you can get some different sounds. Let's say a more dry sound or a more roomy sound. You can also adjust this and customize them yourself. Now getting into the settings page, you have a little bit more in-depth control of what you can do with it. You can control some of the ways that the legato responds, some of the dynamics, and also EQ and effects options that you can use. Now Cinestrings Solo comes with violins 1, 2, there's a viola, a cello, and basses. Now I think it's really cool that they included basses because it's nice to have that really thick low end when doing some stuff with a quartet or a quintet in this case. So having that is definitely cool, and one of the things I like because I really like to have those really big, deep, low strings when composing stuff that I'm into. Now with the different articulations, it comes with standard and portamento style legato, so they recommend that you don't go overkill with the portamento as it can be a little bit too much, but if you want to use it to add a little bit more realism into your playing, it's definitely helpful to have that there. And then you have the standard spiccato, staccato, marcatos, and pizzicatos, and some of the different extra articulations that they have with like Bartok pits or tremolos, which only work for certain different strings. So if you have violins 1 and 2 and violas, they have tremolos, and then some of the other different strings have Bartok pits, which I think is cool to have. Now with Cinestrings Solo, they actually have the adaptive legato that they talk about, and that's really cool just for adding a little bit more realism and a little bit more added playability when you're actually using it. It feels a little bit more natural and definitely sounds a lot more natural. Now, Cinestrings Solo isn't just good for doing those big, long, expressive lines. If you're doing little quick, fast, short passages, it definitely sounds good for that too. Now, while there's a lot of pros with this library, there are some cons, and I want to talk about those as well. So first off, one of the things is it is a big ass library. It's around 50 gigs, so it's a big download. It took me a while. I think the day I got it, my internet was acting kind of funky, so that kind of sucks. But I mean, if you have fast internet, it shouldn't be a problem. Most of the articulations included are pretty much the standard ones that you'll use. I thought it would have been cool to have some of the harmonic sustains for if, let's say, you're scoring maybe like a horror movie or something and you want to have those intimate harmonic sustain sounds that would, be really cool with a string quartet or a quintet. That would have been cool to have, but for the most part, all of the articulations that you're going to need are there, but harmonic sustains would have been cool. Now, I've suggested this library to some people who have asked me about different solo string libraries, and one of the things I've always heard people complain about is the price. Now, it's around $3.99. And if you're on a budget, that can be a pretty big dent in your pocket. So if you have the money, go for it. If you're on something of more of a budget, definitely maybe check out some of the other libraries. They might not sound as good, but I mean, for the price point, it's something to consider. Now, to end on a good note, it is for the free Kontakt players. So I mean, if you get this library, you're not going to have to buy the full version of Kontakt, so that's nice. So overall, I really did enjoy the library. If you are in the market for some solo strings, definitely check out Cinesamples. And you can check out their website at cinesamples.com. And thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.